Hey guys, it's Barbie with Two Friends in a Bible. I've been kind of slacking on my updates. Last week was my first week back on my chemo because after my break and my chemo pills. And sometimes they make me tired, and other times they don't affect me at all. This month I was tired, but I'm back to normal today. And our boss, my Lord, said I need to get an update out. So here we go. And I do have one bit of good news to report to you, but unfortunately, the rest of it's not so much. And I apologize for that. Um, but, I need to get it out there, and you guys need to be aware of it. And so that you can take precautions. Okay. I believe that God gives us the warnings for this. Um, but before I start, though, I want to remind everyone that God is in control. And He tells us 365 times in the Bible to not fear. Okay, so remember that. Remember that. Even though we're hearing a lot of doom and gloom, remember that He tells us not to fear. Okay, so y'all definitely keep that up in your minds. Okay, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. And I put down a couple other verses that you guys can pull up yourself and read. And then when you're feeling fearful, make sure you read these verses. Psalm 23:4, Psalm 27:1, Psalm 46:1 through 3, Psalm 118:6, John 14:27, Deuteronomy 31:6, Isaiah 41:13. Okay. So I know the times are scary right now. I know they are. But we cannot put our heads in the sand and think it's just going to go away on its own because I don't believe that it will. Yes, I do believe God takes care of his chosen, but I also believe that he kind of has an ending point himself. If we're throwing him out of our country, out of the schools, out of our government, out of um, our churches, yeah, a lot of churches out of our lives. We can't expect him to keep blessing us. Okay. So he's going to get done and frustrated. And I feel that that's where he's at right now. So don't put your heads in the sand and pretend that life is normal because it's not. It hasn't been normal since 2020. Um, but go to the Lord in prayer and he'll always comfort you. Okay. And he will always be there. Spiritual warfare is very real right now. And the only way for us to fight darkness is with truth. And the only way to know the truth is to keep in the relationship with the Lord and keep in the word. That is the only way to know the truth and to understand these signs that we are seeing. Okay. So y'all just remember that. Okay, so I'm going to give you our good news first, and then I'm going to give you the other not so good. Israel had their elections yesterday, and Netanyahu won. So I think that is awesome for Israel. This comes after 5 elections over the last 3.5 to 4 years. Daniel 2:21 says, and he changes the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He gives wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them that know understanding. Yeah. Yeah. So, God can put in and take out whoever he chooses to. And I think this is good for Israel. They have not had a steady government. And for the last, 18 months, they've had or something like that, 15 to 18 months, they've had like an interim prime minister in there, Lapid. And Lapid's in there, has been in there just running the country as if he's the actual prime minister, making a lot of not so good decisions. He wants to split Jerusalem and have a two state solution, which that's God's promised land. That's his land. You can't give God's land away. So that was not going to be smiled down on good. He went into that agreement with Lebanon where he was regarding the oil pipes and whatnot. Yeah, just some things that should not have happened for an interim prime minister. Okay, so this is definitely very good news, and there's a lot of celebration going on. Okay, so here we go. the UN has announced that they voted that Israel should dispose of their nuclear weapons. Now, why would they do that? And all the while they did that, they're still allowing Iran to continue violating the JPAC, the JCPOA. I mean, when I shake my head and think about things, sometimes I'm like, I cannot believe what I am seeing. But then I realize, oh, well, all these things are prophesized that the times would get crazy like this, and they are. So why would I be surprised, right? But sometimes it still gets me. Okay, so Iran's currency has weakened to their all-time lowest, 344,000 rials to the rials, R-I-A-L-S to the dollar. Okay, so their currency is collapsing. Saudi Arabia informed the United States that they received intel of Iran attacking them and northern Iraq. U.S. responded and said that they are ready to respond if Iran carries out any attacks. The U.S. has put its military forces in the Middle East on high alert. Okay, here's my question. Did Putin put Iran up to do this so that the U.S. focuses on this and away from them? I mean, we have North Korea right now, yesterday, that attacked South Korea, and I'm going to get to that in just a second. And we have Iran threatening that they're going to attack Saudi Arabia. China is threatening to attack Taiwan. I don't believe in coincidences, y'all. That's a lot. You got a lot going on right now. The United States has said that they're going to help Taiwan. They're already helping Ukraine a lot. And Saudi Arabia is a very important country to the United States. So they're going to, they're going to help them if something happens. So, sorry about that. My little Sally Rose here can hear a truck. Our driveway's like 1/10 of a mile down the road, but she can hear it. Okay, so what we were talking about is coincidences. Do you guys believe in coincidences? These seem just too big to me. They seem like they're all getting together and trying to keep us from being focused on what's really going on. So keep that in your prayers. I might be wrong. It just, seems weird. Inflation in the EU has reached an all-time high at 10.7% per year. That's a lot. Many Facebook and Instagram users are reporting that they are losing thousands of followers, and those followers are being removed from their accounts, and it's like thousands at a time. And I know that was happening on Twitter a lot until Elon Musk purchased it, and now they're not saying much about it. We'll see what, time will tell if that makes a change or not. And it's all conservative. It's not the left or, any liberals. It's all conservative pages. So we'll see what happens with that. And, we're right here at the elections and stuff. So I don't know. Are they trying to stop them from saying things? I don't know. Russia reported last week that there were ships in the Black Sea that were attacked by drones and stated it is the Ukraine doing it. Now, I have not heard or seen any damage. So I don't know if that's true or if that's just something he fabricated to cause another distraction. I don't know. Someone else might have found something on that. I have not. All I know is I could not find any actual evidence on that. So if y'all have heard of something, y'all let me know. When Russia first reported this, the first thing they did was they were so angry, Putin, that he pulled out of the grain deal. And if you don't know what that is, it's a deal that they agreed with the Ukraine, because Ukraine is like one of our biggest. It is like one of the biggest exporters of grains. And grains, that you need grains to make it would make a huge impact on the food. So they had agreed that Ukraine could send their cargo ships with the grain on it to the necessary places, because one of the places they were going to go to was Africa, because Africa is they're going to be starving by the end of the year if they don't get some help. So that was one of the places. Well, when this happened with the drones, they immediately pulled out and said, nope, not going to do this anymore. And which was not good, but I don't know what happened. But as of yesterday, Russia's decided to re-enter the grain deal. So that's good news, because it is crucial for our food supply. Ukraine right now is quickly building 425 nuclear shelters in the Kyiv region. They are scheduled to be completed by November 15th, so that's only like 2 weeks from now. It's believed that if Russia intends to nuke Ukraine, it will be in the winter, because the winds blow from the east to the west. So they would blow from Russia to the west into that area and away from Russia, any of the fallout. And this would help Russia a lot because of the fallout. And so the winds blow away from Russia this way, east to west. So that's, if they intend to do it, there's a good chance it's going to be in the wintertime. And, they're knocking out all their power, energy, water supply. From what I heard, I think that if you look at Ukraine as a whole, they're like 40%, maybe even almost 50% now without power and water. So, yeah, it's not good. And, as we've stated before, Ukraine and Russia have super brittle, cold winters. Okay, so pray for them. I mean, pray for the Russian people too, as well as the Ukrainian people, because it's not their fault. This is not the majority of the people's fault. This is more government, and it's not their fault. So let's keep them in our prayers. And, if they're building the 425 nuclear shelters, they're obviously believing there's going to be an attack. And truthfully, I do too. Yesterday, this is not good. North Korea launched 17 ballistic missiles, including long-range missiles and more than 100 artillery shells over the border of South Korean territorial waters. Nothing like this has happened since North and South Korea became two nations in 1945. The missiles crossed the maritime border between North and South Korea. South Korea immediately responded by launching 3 missiles from their fighter jets, I think they were F-16s and 15s, which crossed into North Korea's territorial waters. So they, North Korea shot in the beginning 17 of the ballistic missiles into their territorial water. So South Korea shot back. Well, when South Korea crossed back, they crossed the maritime border, which is known as the Northern Limit Line. The 3 missiles that were launched from South Korea, which is what they responded with, was 3 missiles. They landed somewhere in North Korea's territorial waters. And then after that happened, North Korea responded by firing back 100 artillery shells into the South Korea's territorial water, violating a 2018 agreement. Japan is also reporting that a missile was launched possibly by North Korea. So one was launched at Japan as well. Still waiting on a little bit more detail for that. I literally just got that reported right before I did this. So you've got North Korea sending a lot of missiles towards South Korea, something that's not been done since 1945. And you've got China going after Taiwan. We don't know when, but it will. I did hear about a week or so ago where a actual energy plant in Taiwan was exploded, but I have not heard any updates on it. Was it China? Was it just a coincidence? I'm not sure on that. But that's typically a lot of times what happens in war. And, honestly, it's crimes against humanity. I don't think that's not good when you start attacking civilians, when you start attacking civilians in their comfort and killing them off because it gets cold. China gets cold too. So, I mean, what do you guys think? You got Russia and Ukraine, you got Iran and Saudi Arabia, you've got the UN telling Israel, that they got to get rid of, that they need to get rid of their nukes. You've got South and North Korea going after each other. You still have Azerbaijan and Armenia that are still arguing and fighting right now, and that's ugly. Um, you got Africa who's going to be starving. You got Sri Lanka that's starving. You got all these things going on. And like I said, it's just, do you think that like North Korea, Iran, China, and Russia are working together? I think they are. I do. I might be wrong. I'm not a military expert. I'm not a military person. This is just something that comes from my gut. I think that they are working together. And Putin has asked, like Iran and them, to create distractions so that we won't be as focused on what he's doing in Ukraine. You know, we'll see. And, one of the things that I saw that the current administration has done is they have told Ukraine, Zelensky, that they have to start giving them a spreadsheet basically of what they're doing with all the equipment, money, whatever that we're sending over there. They have to provide what they're doing with it because it has been reported, and I believe it was the EU reported that it has been spotted being, a lot of our equipment has been spotted being sold on the dark web and possibly eBay, which eBay I'm kind of like, that might be a little exaggeration. Dark web, I can see it. And they're concerned that terrorist organizations are going to get a hold of our equipment. Then you got a whole other world of problems. So he is actually having him do a spreadsheet, basically telling them these are what we're doing. And Zelensky wasn't happy about it, but we do have people over there now going over it and stuff because we can't. That's not good. Yeah, if they're not being responsible for them, or if their people or their government is selling them to someone, yeah, that's interesting. So I'll have to keep an eye on that. But yeah, well, let me know in the comments or send me an email what you think about Russia and Iran and China and North Korea working together. I mean, all of a sudden they're all just, doing everything and they're cohorts with Putin. So interesting. Okay, so the U.S. has reported this was a few days ago actually, they reported that we have 20 days left of diesel fuel. 70% of the United States' supply chain is transported by semi-trucks. If we run out of diesel, then everything stops. And they're stating this will happen prior to Thanksgiving. We'll see, right? If that happens, that's 70% of our supplies, and not to mention the amount of truck drivers that will be out of a job. So please keep that in your prayer. And last thing, I never in a million years thought that I would be saying this. I've never been one that's believed in the apocalypse or zombies or any of that, but I've always believed in the word. And I didn't follow the word for many, many years, but I believed in it and I follow it now and really believe in it. And so things are different now than they were years ago when I didn't think I would ever advise this. But I feel like the Lord's telling me to tell you guys to do it. First and foremost, if you are not right with Christ, even if you have accepted Christ as your Savior and you are saved and you are a Christian, if you've backslidden, you need to get back right. Okay. I'm just going to say it like it is. You need to get back right with God. Time's short, guys. Time's short. And we don't know what's going to happen. Everything could turn around, but if you can't see what's been going on since 2020, and every week there's another crisis. I mean, every day there's a new crisis. Something is always going on. And I know a lot of people believe that if number 45 gets back into office, that everything's going to be fine. Well, guys, come on, don't put your hope in one person. He's just a person. We don't know that God's not already used him for his time. I mean, we don't know that. And I don't care what prophets say because I hear the prophets say what the truthers say. So I'm not having a lot of faith in what the prophets are saying right now. And if they're right, I'll write back. I mean, I'll come back and apologize. But they tend to say what the truthers say, who the truthers are someone who gets intel. Okay, and supposedly, and I don't know if it's true or not, but supposedly they get information from people high up and they won't tell who it is, but they give us warnings on things that's going on. And when it's like every time we see them go on and say, okay, this is going to happen, boom, a week later or so, the prophets, not all of them, I'm sure there are some real prophets that God has ordained, but Jesus warned us against false prophets. So be very careful. But then but anyway, like a week later, they'll say the same thing the truthers say. And you can't tell me that I just don't believe that God let the truthers know before the prophets. I just don't believe that. So not feeling real good. Um, so if you're listening to them, make sure you test the spirits. God says to test them. In one of the books, and in Revelation 2 or 3, in one of the letters to the churches, and I don't remember which one, but one of the letters to the churches, he commends them for testing the spirits. He's like, good job. You need to do that. And you do, especially now. There's going to be false messiahs, there's going to be false prophets. You need to be very careful. Okay. And I'll get off my tangent on that right now. But even if number 45 were to come back in office, okay, he's only going to have 4 years, and it's going to be, at least another 2 years. And I know the prophets say that he's going to be back by the end of the year, but they've said it before. And so it's going to be at least 2 years, right? 2024. And that's if he even runs. And we don't know what the future holds. He's not a young man, although he seems to get more and more energy every time you see him. He's like he's not aging, but he's not a young man. So don't put your hope in just one person. You need to put your hope in Jesus Christ. You need to talk to him and know that God's going to put the right person where that person needs to be. And so just be really careful, okay? But one of the things I was going to tell you before I went on my tangent was please make sure you get ready and prepared. Get your house in order. And when I say that, again, right with Christ, because we aren't promised our next breath. Okay, so get right with Christ. It's so important to know where your soul's going to go because we're all going to die. We're all, you know. And if you have children, the most important thing that you could do for them is to make sure where their soul's going to go. No master's degree, no PhD, no sports car for them when they turn 16, no amount of football games, none of that is ever going to be worth it if your child's soul is not where it needs to be. Okay, so please, please teach your children. Okay, teach your children. And when I say what I was going to, and what I'm saying is, sorry, Holy Spirit keeps telling me to say stuff, but get prepared by having extra food and a go bag. And what I did is we put extra food in one certain area, and it's just things like canned vegetables, rice, things, beans, things like that that you can just cook over an open fire. Okay, and I'm going to give you worst case scenario, let's say we get nuked and we have to take off because we've been given a 2 hour warning that the nukes are coming and they're going to hit us. So we have 2 hours to get gone. You don't have time to go to the grocery store and pack and do all that. You need to have things ready. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm not saying it's not. And it is better to prepare. Okay. So have extra food and a go bag in one place. And a go bag, you want to make sure that you've got, just a couple changes of clothing. Maybe your sleeping bag, because you don't know where you're going to end up. A jacket, a coat, hiking boots, tennis shoes, something that is, you just don't know. Okay. East Coast is going to be one big area that they go after is in West Coast, Alaska, Hawaii, California, East Coast, New York, Maine, Georgia, all of us. Okay. That's where they're going to really go for. Okay. So, and again, I'm not saying they're going to, but if we get a 2 hour notice that we need to haul butt west, you don't know where you're going to be able to stay. You don't know if you're going to be sleeping in your car, if you're going to be sleeping in the woods. You don't know. So have it all in one spot so you can just pick it up, throw it in your vehicle, and take off. And keep your, gas tank full. Things are not good, guys. We've never had so much nuclear talk ever, ever. And the nuclear bombs now, they were horrible back in 1945, but they are worse now than they were then. So just remember that. Okay, so have the food and the go bag in one place so that you can just grab it and put it in your car. If you've got pets, make sure you have some extra dog food, cat food, whatever, in the same spot so you can grab that. Leashes, whatever, everything in one spot so that you can just grab. Okay, just think about that. Also have an exit plan. Where are you going to go? If you're in the East Coast, where do you have family up in like the South Dakota, North Dakota, Wisconsin area? Because that's an area that's not as highly likely to get nuked. Not saying it won't, but it's not as highly likely. If you got family, find out if you can stay with them if something happens. If not, have an exit plan. Where are you going to go? Are you going to, learn how far fallout can go. Is it 500 miles? Is, whatever. If it's 500 miles, you want to make sure you're going somewhere that's about 800 miles away. Okay. So just, think about things like that. So have an exit plan. One of the things that I did is I went to the dollar store, which is now the $1.25 store, and I got those lights that you put in the ground, like to light up your sidewalk. They're $1.25, nothing fancy. I bought 10 of them. And the reason I did was they're great for flashlights. Not as good as a flashlight, so I still recommend having a flashlight. But if you lose power or you're staying somewhere in the dark, you've got a great light. And if you've never used them and like walked around in the dark or gone in a closet with one, they do some pretty good job. They light up pretty good, and they're powered by the sun. So you don't have to worry about buying batteries and wasting your batteries and whatnot. But still have, a flashlight. But these are great for walking to the bathroom if you're camping or whatever. These are good. Really good. In fact, like I said, I bought 10 of them, and we've got them where we know to go get them if something happens. And if not, there's always a chance you're going to lose power from a thunderstorm or whatever. So you've got these extra little lights, and they're powered by the sun and it didn't cost anything. You're not having to put batteries in them, nothing like that. And I heard this the other day from a guy, I don't recall his name, and he was talking about starting fires, how to start like a fire in your fireplace if you can't get it to start. And so it made me start thinking, okay, so let's say that we do have to go and we do have to stay in the woods. Well, if we can open the cans and eat them cold, but if we want to warm them up, we'll need a fire, right? Well, most people can build a fire fairly well, but sometimes they're just stubborn, and it's hard to get one to build. So he recommended getting maxi pads. Yeah, maxi pads. Who knew? And tampons. Okay, and you put them in a bowl and you let them soak for about 10 to 15 minutes in alcohol, pure rubbing alcohol. You just let them soak for about 10 to 15 minutes. And you put them under your fire, and they are fantastic at starting a fire. So yeah, I bought maxi pads and tampons and alcohol. I know. And there again, if you don't end up using them, hey, take them to the women's shelter, food pantries, food that you have left over. Make it a blessing, but be prepared. Do not put your head in the sand. Have an exit plan. Have a go bag ready. Okay, have extra food. If you don't use it, you don't need it all. You can share with your neighbors who didn't prepare. Just think about that. Okay, and we pray all the time that these things aren't needed, but God gives us. He shows us things so that we can prepare. He's a loving God. He's given us thousands of years to get it right, and we still haven't done it. And he's a loving God. He does not want anyone to perish. He does, especially his children. He does not want anyone to hurt. But, if these things do happen, I really feel he's done. He's just like, look, you guys are never going to change. You're always going to keep you're always going to keep having idols. And when I say idols, that doesn't mean a statue of Buddha. That can be something that anything you put before him. Friends, your job, any of that can be an idol. And I think he's just kind of done with us. And I might be wrong, and I pray I'm not, because, I don't want anyone to perish either. I want everyone to have the time to come to Christ. But he does give us this information so we can prepare. So let's be smart about it, okay, guys? And I'm sorry if this video came out as like a doom and gloom. Don't want it to be a doom and gloom, not trying to make you fear, but you got to see these things are happening. All the warplanes, I can't remember what they're called, warhead nuclear planes. I reported about them a couple of weeks ago in the air, flying around all the time. Now, they don't carry nukes, but they kind of help search for nuclear problems. And so there's just so many signs that things are going to get really bad. And don't put your hope in one man. I'm not saying if he gets back in, he isn't going to help fix some things, but even so, we're talking 4 years. He's got 4 years, and we're talking 4 years that damage has been done. It's going to be very, very difficult. Okay, so it can happen, but it's going to be very difficult. Our military is depleted, our weapon arsenal, all that is depleted. We're in a recession. Our 401ks are falling, interest rates on houses are going up. Even, if he gets back in office, he's got that to deal with. Yeah. So it's going to take some time. And with a weak administration and us having the issues that we're having, that's the time to get us. Okay. So that's what I believe Russia and Iran and China and North Korea, is doing. I really do. I'm not saying they're going to come attack us, but they know what goes on here. They watch the United States all the time. So, okay, guys, keep your chin up. Make sure you read those verses that I gave you at the beginning. Do not fear. God's got us in the palm of his hand. Okay, but be smart. Okay, guys? All right, we will talk to y'all later. Love y'all. Thank you. And if you would please hit subscribe, share, like, all that good stuff. We'd be forever in your debt. Thank y'all.